So today we are joined by Suzy Simonson, whose journey from surviving a debilitating stroke to thriving in wellness and business will give you hope that your health challenges can be overcome and your life transformed. Welcome to WellWaveNOW, your portal for actionable wellness insights. Meet your empowerment team. There's Breck, the healthcare disruptor, decoder of medication complexities, and a community and integrative wellness expert. Dr. Bob Levine, renowned brain researcher and national leader in drug-free pain elimination. I'm Tim Daniels, wellness plan manager, builder of personalized wellness approaches as unique as you are, with expertise in pulse electromagnetic field therapy. Together, we are your wellness catalysts, committed to elevating your health, enhancing your functionality, and optimizing your performance at every life stage. WellWaveNOW, where kindness wisdom lights your wellness path. Today, we are honored to kick off our Wellness Hero series with a story of resilience and transformation. Our guest, Suzy Simonson, overcame immense health challenges, including a severe stroke that forced her to rebuild her life. She's now the founder of Stroke to Success, where she leverages the well-earned lessons from her recovery to help clients build confidence, achieve their goals, and make an impact in their lives and careers. Suzy's journey is a testament to resilience, self-advocacy, and the transformative power of integrative wellness. Breck, over to you.
Yeah, so I've known Suzy for a couple of years now and have loved all the interactions that we've had. We've been on a lot of Zoom meetings together and a couple of other podcasts. And so it's been absolutely amazing to me to learn more about her story and what she's overcome. And to start with, Suzy, would love for you to share just a little bit of a glimpse into your life and what that challenge has been that you faced.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here. I want to start with that. I'm super excited to be here and just to be able to share what I've gone through so that people can find hope in where they're at. So you don't need to have a stroke. You don't need to have a huge catastrophic event happen in your life to know that you can be confident in who you are and taking steps forward. So I wanted to start with saying the most powerful thing that I've learned in the stroke journey and throughout my life. And so if you hear nothing else from what I say, I need you to hear this. You are exactly who your world needs. And if you shrink back, your world will go without. So
I love that statement. I've heard you say that every Zoom meeting and every podcast we've been on, and I just love that. So I'm glad that you included it here on the WellWaveNOW.
Absolutely. And no matter what, keep showing up. So that's all we need to do is we need to keep showing up because each of us is exactly who our world needs. So thank you, Bryce, for saying that too. So my health journey started when I was about the age of 5. It's when I had my first migraine. So the doctors didn't know what it was. I was hunched over my dad's back. I remember I was going to put on a play, or I was about to be on the stage, and I couldn't go on. I couldn't speak. And I was hunched over my dad's back and I heard them say, squeeze my thumb, squeeze my thumb. And I'm screaming in my head, I am. And I thought that I was squeezing his thumb and I wasn't. And so they took me to the hospital. They had EEGs, MRIs, all of these things. And so they came back saying that I had abnormal brain patterns. And that was it. I was sent home. It happened again, and they thought that I was having seizures. So they wanted to put me on anti-seizure medication. And my mom asked if they were 100% sure, and they said no. So she said no. She said, you're not going to put my daughter on anti-seizure medication when I know what that could do to her for the rest of her life. So unless you're 100% sure, the answer is no. And so what happened, I would have these migraines. So they went from complicated migraines to, or no, they started as a spell. They called them a spell. Mm-hmm. And then it went to complicated migraines. And then in my 20s, it went to hemiplegic migraines. So what would happen to my body as I had them, it was about every 2 years. As I had them, half of my body would go numb, like Novocaine numb. And so it felt like someone else's hand was attached to my hand. So I would start
real quickly, but you used the term there, hemiplegic, and I think that's important. I don't think not everyone understands that. So if you could roll back just a minute and kind of really what really is that?
Yeah, that's what I was just about to describe. So thank you, because we're on the same page with that. Thank you. So hemiplegic. So I believe. So I'm not I haven't had any, and I'm not much of a researcher. I just go by like what I experience, but I believe hemiplegic, it's because it's on one side of the body And so that's the hemi. I don't know what the plegic means, but it's on one side of the body. So it doesn't affect your other side, but it affects, I had aphasia. So the effects of the hemiplegic migraine was that my body it started from my fingertips, that I would start to get no feeling, like it would be tingly and then no feeling on one side of the body. And then I would get aphasia. So that's how I've heard it explained, is that what I had is hemiplegic. So thank you, Tim, for making that's what I was describing.
I was going to say, we could put Dr. Bob on the spot, right? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
So the hem, you're exactly right on the hemi part. It's, you know, and the pelegic part, I just want to expand on what you said. It's basically motor weakness on one side. Motor weakness on one side of the body, and that can show up a lot of different ways.
Yes.
Tingling or weakness or
yep.
You know,
that makes sense too, because I still could move, so I wasn't paralyzed. I've described it as being paralyzed on one side of my body, but I could still move. It was very weak. So thank you for that. Because
I've had people with in my own family that had aphasia after stroke in my home care business. But I'd love for Dr. Bob to kind of I had a lawyer friend one time, and he told me, I always want to, when I have people speak to the jury for me, I want to put in the manners that a 5-year-old can understand. And you did such a beautiful job of hemiplegic, making it so a 5-year-old can understand it. Do the same thing for us on aphasia, if you would, Dr. Bob.
I'm going to pass on that. I'll let you take care of that, since you've got the personal experience. That's it.
No, you can't pass it back, because I won't let you. But I put you on the spot. You got to stay there, Bob.
No. I want to hear more from Suzy about her story, because you know what? Her story, look, this is really fascinating. Everybody should be hearing this story, really. I wanted to say that at the outset, not even knowing you or know anything about you or your story, but just the fact that where you started from and where you are now, as I got to see you and talk to you just for a couple of minutes, is remarkable. So everybody,
to drive that power home, and so you won't stay on the spot, I'll let Suzy explain her own experience on that. So tell us how you experienced aphasia as well. So I think that's important for people to really get a grasp of all that you were experiencing from a young age, and then how it hit you even more as you go along.
Yeah, I actually just learned the term aphasia because of Bruce Willis, because of his dementia. I equated the two, that's how I can medically describe it, because of what I would tell people is that in my head, I knew what I wanted to say, but there was a disconnect from my mouth, right? So I had the words. When my dad was telling me to squeeze his thumb, I literally thought I was screaming at him, I am. But I wasn't. So there's a disconnect. So it was in my head. So a beautiful thing that I get to do with people who have aphasia, have suffered a stroke, or even dementia. My bonus mom has got Alzheimer's. And so there's a lot that I get to understand, because I know that she's in there, and the communication just isn't what we've known it to be, right? So in having aphasia, in having the disconnect between my brain and my words and my mouth, it was like it was severed.
So you actually knew exactly what you wanted to say all the time. It just wasn't coming out.
Before the stroke. So in all of the times that I had this hemiplegic migraine, so it would happen about every 2 years, and we got used to it. It's just what life was. Is that I would have these hemiplegic migraines. I would be out for about 3 days. I would sleep and sleep and sleep and sleep and take a bath and eat a little bit and sleep and sleep. And when it would happen, it was like someone was taking a saw to my skull. I mean, that's how much pain I was in.
Wow.
But there were steps where I knew that it was coming, that I wouldn't be able to speak.
Right.
And so that was our normal. So my parents, I literally had to start telling my bosses, if I ever start to not make sense, you need to get me to a dark room, you need to make me sleep, and you need to get me home.
Right.
So and that was the standard.
So that's some of the coping that you did as you mature, make a posture with people. But I think if I heard you correctly, you started experiencing some of these things at age 5, was it?
Yeah.
So so those are the physical aspects of it, manifestations. But the other part, you're a tough Midwesterner too, like me. You're not like one is Northeasterners like Bob who happen to visit the Midwest a little bit. But even for us,
30 years, I don't know.
even for us, the emotional aspects can sometimes be tough. So emotionally, from that, for you and for your family, what you feel, what you experience with that going on?
That's a great question. Emotionally, so since I was 5, I knew something was wrong with my heart. I just had a knowing that there was something wrong with my heart, and I would voice that. But I was always, and I don't know if these two are connected or not, but I was always labeled the hypochondriac because I would get sick all the time. And I knew what was going on in my body on a different level than the most or normal people around me. Like I could feel it. And so that for me was very emotional because I had to fight for myself. I didn't want to be sick, but every single major thing that happened, I was at home sick watching TV.
But you were sick. What do you mean when you were sick? What were you, like the flu or the cold?
Anything. Anything, everything. If somebody had it, I had it worse.
I have a million questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, but with all of that, I felt that I wasn't taken seriously in my health. And so there were a lot of things that I learned to ignore. And so that was emotional. And I don't put blame on anyone because the thing is, we only know what we know. And so now that I know that, I can advocate for people. I can advocate for people that feel things in their body, right, and that think something's not right in me. Yeah.
So I'm wondering, like, what did you have to ignore? That's what I'm curious about. Like things in your home you had to ignore. What's an example of that?
So as I got older, here's a perfect example, and it leads into the stroke too.
Okay. What age are we talking about?
So the first thing that came to mind was when I was 28. So, in that I would ignore, like I would just be sick and not tell people, or I would, you know what I mean? So I would go in instead of sharing it and being like, oh, you're sick again, or whatever the thing was. But just dealing with it internally. But when I was 28, so 3 months before my stroke, I had a migraine. So it wasn't a hemiplegic. Like there is a very distinct difference between a headache, a migraine, and a hemiplegic, right? Like I know when the hemi is coming on. Like now I know the triggers. But 3 months before my stroke, I had an intense migraine every single day for 3 months. And I took over-the-counter medication every single day. And I was taking these little, like I had zero energy because I was getting 4 hours of sleep and I was working 100 hours a week. And I was taking these little energy shots that I have not touched since. And I was literally, my body was screaming at me to stop. And my spirit was whispering to me to stop. And I didn't.
To stop what?
It just slow down and to stop. So I was getting 4 hours of sleep. I was working 100 hours a week. I was not eating very well, all of those things. Yeah.
So the sleep, was it due to the you couldn't sleep because of the headache, or just that your schedule was so busy? Or
so
both?
I was a workaholic and I was the social butterfly. I was at everything with everyone all the time. And so I got 4 hours of sleep. Growing up, I was the one, I needed sleep. I needed naps. I needed all of this stuff. But my family are workaholics and, don't need that much sleep. So I just, it was a lot of circumstantial things that was normal in my life.
That's what I call behavioral inheritance.
Yes.
The workaholic business, behavioral inheritance. Yeah.
Anything aholic is not good. It is not a badge of honor. Like people think, oh, I'm a workaholic. Sorry. No. Sorry.
Yeah, so it sounds like you've set the stage for us here, and as a tough experience growing up with that, RNH5 and dealing with that, and being things you having to try and advocate for yourself. Applaud your mother for taking that stance she took, on keeping you off the medication at that age. But so that workaholic stuff and the energy drinks and the other things piled up on you. So tell us about the big stake in the ground, the big turning point here. So what happened to you and when it happened?
And how, thank goodness our sponsor today isn't one of those energy shots. But yeah, no,
Please tell me they are never.
Yeah, no. So take us to that pivotal point.
I bet you can't drink just one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're too young to know that what that really means.
But I couldn't. There were days that I had to.
All the commercials about Lay's potato chips, sorry about that.
Oh, yeah.
Just one.
So September 25th of 2010 is the day that forever changed my life. So all of my triggers were in play. So my triggers, I have 9 of them. I wrote them down so I don't forget. Okay, bright lights, loud noises, lack of water, hunger, excitement, or anxiety, because they release the same thing in our bodies, which I get very excited very easily. And so I need to calm myself from excitement and anxiety. Allergies, temperature. So if it's too hot or too cold, done. Hormones, and then lack of sleep. So those 9 triggers, when those are in place, I'm almost guaranteed a hemiplegic. Yeah, Dr. Beth.
You mean all of those triggers have to be present, or
Typically, yes.
Really, all of those? Wow.
For a hemiplegic, and the amount of time, because I've asked myself, why does this not happen all the time?
Yeah, but you said it comes on like roughly every 2 years. You think like every 2 years you had all this
yeah,
the perfect storm of these.
Yes. And typically it would happen in the fall. So almost always in the end of the summer or the fall.
You still get these?
As of 2 years ago, yeah.
Okay, so you're up. According to your history, you could be up for one soon.
Yep. And now
let's stay calm on this call. Let's stay calm.
Yeah. Yes. Now my husband. So I have medication now. I also had heart surgery because, ta-da, I had a hole in my heart and I knew it since I was 5. So I had surgery. I have factor V Leiden, which is a blood clotting disease. Mm-hmm. So it literally was the perfect storm that a bunch of neurologists were like, we can't ever figure out how your stroke happened, so we're not even going to try. And then my last neurologist, my current neurologist, he actually listened to me and he showed me my brain that like there shows the part where there was the stroke because it's lighter. And he said what he believes happened is that I had a blood clot. It went through the hole in my heart and up to my brain.
Wow.
But yeah, on September 25th, all of the triggers were in play.
That was 2010. That was 2010. And how old were you at the time?
28.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And it was the hottest day of September. I had gotten like 3 hours of sleep that night. I did a photo shoot for a family who was going to be going back to China. It was the only day that they could do the shoot. So I was like, yes, I have a wedding photo shoot, but I have this time. So I had 2 photo shoots. It was in a teeny tiny itty bitty church with a red door that the photo shoot happened. So my mom and I had a photography company and we always would do weddings together. And it just came with the package is that you get 2 photographers so that we can get the different angles. So that day we were double booked. It's the only day in our photography history that we were double booked. So if my mom was at the wedding that I was at, she would have gone into mom mode and we would have needed to reimburse the money and not get the reception pictures. But my best friend was there photographing with me. My sister knew both of the brides and she chose to come to the wedding that I was at because I might be a little more fun. But she chose to come to that. And so she recognized what was happening. I was at the front of the church taking pictures of the bride and the father of the bride coming down the aisle. My fingers started going numb and tingly. My toes started going numb and tingly. And I was like, nope, not going to happen. This is not happening. And it did. So that's a whole nother story that I could tell all the details from. But we thought that it was a hemiplegic migraine. So eventually, here's another thing. The groom at the wedding that I was shooting is a doctor. So he kept coming to the car, checking my vitals. So I got home, slept for 3 days. I started throwing up. My mom called a friend of hers who was a nurse and said, this feels different. So remind me of this. Remind me of this feels different. So she said, this feels different. How do I know? And she throws up. It's serious. And I had thrown up 3 times.
Well,
and
hold
so
on. I heard I had a little garbling on that. Was that just me that heard the garbling? And was that?
Now restate again what they was it a medical provider that said if you start to throw up, it's serious?
Yeah, it was a nurse friend. Yep. So my
So,
mom called a nurse friend and she said, if she throws up, it's serious. And I had thrown up 3 times.
Okay.
Wow.
so
So
so in those 3 days when you were in between when I guess the stroke actually happened, and here, were you able to talk then? Were you able to move, or was it
no, it
what's
was, I was sleeping. I crawled to the bathroom to take a bath. So I was at my parents' house and they hadn't used their bathtub in a really long time. And so my mom's like trying to clean it out and I'm just getting ready for the bath right in front of like nothing. I just knew I needed to take a bath because it's stabilizing, or it's whenever I have a migraine, I do take a bath. I don't know, the science behind it or what behind it, but that was the only time that I was awake or aware, is that I was crawling to the bathroom for that. But it was just like a normal hemiplegic that I sleep it off for 3 days and then I'm fine.
Wow, you're lucky that they, I don't know, they found that hole and they could fix that hole.
Well, and that's the thing. That didn't happen until I was pregnant and I had a miscarriage. I literally found my current neurologist after having a miscarriage because my OB said you need a neurologist. And before you get pregnant again, you need to talk to your neurologist and have a plan. I didn't. Because I was like, I just can't carry a baby. So we'll be the favorite auntie and uncle.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, we got pregnant with our rainbow baby, Knox. But that first baby literally saved my life. And because then the neurologist listened to me. I said, I have felt like I've had something wrong with my heart since I was 5. And he listened closer. And I have a heart surgeon friend that was like, how did he even find that? Because what you have is so hard to hear. And my thought is, I feel like he truly listened to me and to my body, right? He was like, I can hear a slight thing, so I'm going to order it. So he ordered that.
Yeah, you got him and he together. He got laser focused on what was going on. Yeah, it's really good.
And because I said since I was 5, no one has listened to me. And
Wow,
then I had a PFO. So how they described it is that it's the flap that your heart has when you're in the womb. And it was described to me, I don't know if this is true or not, but that the trajectory of birth typically closes it. And I was stuck in the birth canal. So I don't know if there's a correlation or not. But he said that 25% of people have this and they don't know.
Well, that's pretty good. That means, the chance of it killing you is not that high.
Yeah. So, I mean, the accumulation, all of that, like the blood clotting disease, the whole, or the flap, the PFO, all of the things. So
when did you find the neurologist? What age were you when you found the neurologist?
37.
Okay, so you had come back from the stroke since then. So let's fall back a little bit and say you had your 3 days and you were throwing up. The nurse talked to your mother. They found something different.
Yeah.
So what? So
What
now
happened?
what happened?
Yeah. So my parents drove me to the hospital, and I heard later some friends of mine were so upset. They're like, take her by ambulance. And to my parents, it was just the normal, like, this was a hemiplegic migraine. It's just something different. And we don't know when the stroke happened. So that's the thing too. We don't know if it happened, before the throwing up. We don't know. And the doctors have told me we can't pinpoint exactly when it happened. When I got to the hospital, I wasn't able to speak. So I had the aphasia. I had all of the effects of the hemiplegic migraine. I was out for like 5 days fully, where I don't remember reality. Like I remember an out-of-body experience where I could see.
Going to ask that. What parts do you remember? Do you even remember the transportation to the hospital? Do you remember the nurses and everybody coming in and asking you questions? And
Yep. So I remember getting out of the car and I was very weak. I remember getting put into a wheelchair. I remember being wheeled up and the lights were so bright. And so I just wanted to hide myself, and the nurses asking me, or the person coming in, asking what my name was. And I could just say, and then they wheeled me back. And then I don't remember anything in my normal state. So that's what I will say. The experience of normality that we experience stopped. and I experienced something different, where what I've learned from this is literally reality is perception. Because my reality was different than my mom's reality. She literally did not leave the hospital room for like 4 or 5 days. She went to take a shower and she came back. She slept in my room. She was by my side every single second of the day. She made sure so after I was released, so I got released at 6 days. They told my parents that I would be a vegetable and that I should be in outpatient care. And
Did you leave the hospital in a wheelchair?
I did.
Were you talking?
No.
You were not talking.
No. They asked me, so what I would do, what was explained to me, so I don't understand like all the things. My mom has a whole journal on it. What was explained to me is that my mom would say, she's parroting you. Like, my daughter is smart enough to know that if she mimics you, you're going to get off her back. And so we went back a week later, but they told my parents that I would be a vegetable and I should be in outpatient care. And my mom, to my understanding or my memory, my recollection is, she's like, what? So you can bathe her and feed her and put her to bed? She's like, we can do that. We've got that. And so that was the care that I got, so the recovery is like, there's so many details all in between, but the recovery was, my family was exactly who I needed when I didn't have the words to ask. My mom for 3.5 months had someone next to me, like had a schedule that someone be next to me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 3.5 months. I just learned that 3.5 months, someone said that 3.5 months is the timestamp of when you're more likely to get everything back or not. Wow. My parents, nobody knew that, right? They just were exactly who I needed. And here's the biggest thing that I want people to know, is that we don't always have the words to ask for what we need. But when we show up and just give what's in us to give, that's exactly what people need. So our world literally goes without when we don't show up.
So one of the keys you pointed to say that, so your mother showed up, but what else? So when you got out of the hospital, you couldn't do, you tell me where I'm wrong. You couldn't walk, you couldn't talk.
Yep.
You probably had limited control over the aside from the body and hand movements. Thinking process was off. So your mother was there. And so part of, I think, one of your keys, we want to get onto some of and so now we can't stop you from talking now, Suzy. So
it's the truth. It's the truth.
And it's very coherent. Very
go ahead.
But let me so let's get on to your keys to what brought you to where you're at now. That first stage was just support, some of that support structure.
Yeah.
What all was in that support structure? What other ways have you cared for yourself? And what keeps you from you talk about the triggers, and also touch upon this. I'm giving you I know how sharp you are now, so I'm giving you a compound question here.
Do it. Yes.
How did you find the right support structure at the start? What was that? You found that neurologist 9 years later after you recovered so much, but how did you find that neurologist? So that's part of the continuing structure.
Yeah.
So what brought you back?
Yeah. So going off of, so my mom was my caretaker. She was my calendar keeper. She made sure that I was surrounded, right? That I was surrounded by warm bodies and souls. And people would show me pictures and they would say, like, they were pictures that I took and they would tell me about it. And so, so let me go back to exponentially. So I had the mindset and the abilities of a newborn. Okay. So when I got from the hospital, so a newborn cannot speak, but they can communicate, right? They can communicate in different ways. They just can't use their mouth. They just can't speak. So then I exponentially grew from 0 to 2. And I don't know how long the process took. I don't remember, but I remember the stages. So 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16, 16 to normal. So by the time that I was normal, I had had my 29th birthday. So the stroke happened 1 month exactly from my 29th birthday. So I was normal. the first time that I said anything, I was trying to tell my grandpa happy birthday because I remember we were all in my parents' kitchen and there was a flip phone and people were all excited to tell grandpa happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. I'm like, you got this. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. I get the phone and I go, happy pappy. Okay. Not what I wanted to say,
Right.
but now the people that I love, I say happy bappy. So my mom was that. My dad was my teacher. My dad would write my name over and over again. My dad would ask me questions. I remember when I was the youngest in my mind, I remember we were at the kitchen table and he wrote down on a sheet of paper, 1 + 1. And this is the most interesting thing. I knew he expected something from me, but I had no clue what he was writing on the paper, but my memory says 1 + 1. So I know it back here, but I didn't know it in the moment. So that's how it all plays like a movie to me. Yeah.
I was going to say this is would be a great movie. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, it would be. When you talk about the progress you made going, you know, from basically newborn to 2 to 4, what do you equate to that growth? Was it understanding as well as physical? Was it speaking as well as walking, for instance?
Yes.
Okay.
So what I equate to that, and I somewhere in my mind, like I honestly don't understand how this happened. I have no clue how I was experiencing it and understanding it. Like I really don't, except for that it plays back like a movie and then I can describe what I experienced, right? So to the 2-year-old, I was like, no, 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 no. And then at 4 years old, I was asking why. And I just wouldn't stop. I was asking a whole bunch of questions. I don't really remember 8. It was just kind of, you know, but 16, I was dating a guy and I literally grabbed his butt in front of my mom. And I was like, afterwards, I was like, what? Like hormonal, you know? And then the normal was 28. So it just went from that to normal. And then what happened is that the memories, so people ask me all the time, what about your memories? What about the things? And I describe it like a scratch off lottery ticket, that the lottery ticket is there. Excuse me, the information is there. You just need to have the right question to scratch it off. Mm-hmm. And so that's what would happen to the memories, is that my memories would come fully back when that would happen. And I have to say too, there are a couple things that I innately had. So I've been in sales since I was 18 years old officially. Right. So Breck talks about a Rolodex all the time and even asked me, do you even know what a Rolodex is? I'm like, hey, I had a Rolodex. But sales, what I realized in sales is that I would keep trying. I would keep going. There is one business story that I will hold all my life, that I literally stopped by her office 12 weeks in a row with chocolate to earn her business. And she told me good luck the first time that I met her. Right? Like, so there was some part in the stroke, in the recovery, where I realized on the 7th try, I will get this. On the 7th try, I will get this. On the 7th try. So I would count in my head, 1, 2. I don't know where that was in the process, but I remember doing it. And then I would stop, and it was 7 times. I'm like, okay, next time, 7 times, 7 times, 7 times. So there were things that I took in my life before the stroke that I used in recovering from the stroke. Yeah. And so
what I'm hearing so far is this. I know you'll keep me honest, Suzy, on this, but what I'm hearing so far. One, it gets back to that support structure. You kind of fell into it a little bit, but people need to try and see if they can have a good support structure around themselves. And so it sounds like your mother did things, your father worked things on the brain. We haven't talked about physically, and so I want you to talk to that a little bit too, what was done with you physically, but also then your persistence. I heard, the persistent, don't give up, always have the hope. There's some element, Bob will see if it actually fits his pattern of visualization or not, but there's some blend between visualization and affirmations to still creating your future there, saying on the 7th time I'll get up. So I'm hearing support structure, persistence, visualization, affirmation. Is that the full rest? Now, were there any special types of physical therapy or anything else that that did it. It was
We
fun.
did hear a little bit of physical when she was in that 16 age, when she
Yeah, we did that.
grabbed her boyfriend somewhere. So, there was a little physical going on there.
I think that might have been. I think that might have been 2 years old. I'll give you a little time. And why that was is because I almost got slapped by a waitress at an IHOP, and my son was 2 years old. But we were sitting in the IHOP in Hayward, California, and the waitress walked behind, and and he reached behind and put her on and slapped her on the behind, and. She turned around, she looked at me, and I was just laughing. And she was about ready to come for me, and I said,
"Sure, blame the baby."
Then she just stopped.
How long were you like not walking and talking after you go to the hospital?
Yeah, that I'm so not good at numbers. I mean, you can ask me anything and I'll be able. So, September 25th to Happy Bappy was so not being able to talk at all to Happy Bappy was September 25th to October 18th. So that was the first time that I tried to put a sentence together or a phrase together. So, and then the next milestone was I was going to go back to work as a closer for a title company on February 1st, or maybe it was the 2nd, beginning of February. And my boss was busy because title work is crazy. And then the assistant boss, he forgot that it was my first day. And I was like, I am not coming back. Like, this is too stressful. What do I think? Like, I'm not going to be able to do this. So I went to work in an infant room at an early learning center. And it was the most healing thing ever because I knew exactly what they wanted to say before they would say it. Wow. And I knew exactly what they needed. So all around. So here's the interesting thing. So my parents, I didn't have insurance. So I couldn't get physical therapy. I couldn't get cognitive therapy. I couldn't get speech therapy. And I had 3 friends that were speech pathologists. And so they gave my parents worksheets. And I had friends who were in the medical industry that would come around. And so all of my healing was outside of the hospital. Yeah. 0 came from the hospital.
Yeah, fantastic. That's really a great story. Wow.
So it's great because the thing is too, and I have to state, a couple of things came to mind that I was speaking at a networking group and this man came up to me sobbing. And he said, did it matter that I was in my father's hospital room when he passed away? Because he had a stroke and he couldn't speak. And I said, 1000% yes. Yeah. And I sobbed with this man because they hadn't had the greatest relationship, but he was still by his dad's side. And we literally hugged and cried and sobbed. So anyone listening, being present matters. Like whether it's someone who's had a stroke, whether it's just something that has changed. You know, we lost my brother in 2021 and people just being there, like it was just the 3-year anniversary on the 10th. Right. And like, no matter what, when there is a physical change, when there is something that has changed your life, doesn't need to be a stroke or a sickness. Be there, be in the same room.
Yeah.
So Suzy, you've talked a lot about having that your family around you and having that personal contact and physical warmth next to you 24/7. Can you attribute any other functional or integrative approaches that you've taken?
I've done, since the stroke, I've done memory games. I've done, there's a man named John Kennedy who he came up with, shoot, I forgot what it's called. You can Google John Kennedy. He's not John F. Kennedy, but John Kennedy brain something. And he came up with a system. So I've done that to rewire the neural pathways or that stuff. So honestly, like, people ask me all the time because they want a formula for what to do to get better, right? They want a formula people have asked me, how long did it take you to do this? How long did it take you to do this? And the biggest thing, because I sleep when I need sleep. I am reminded by my husband all the time to drink more water, to to, like all of the triggers that I have, my husband reminds me like, hey, take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So it
And
is more.
yeah, so I think you're moving into the next stage, which is good. So that to wrap up the other one, which is, how'd you get there? There was a thing when you did have the speech therapy, it was just there was model given by your family, and you had your persistence, you had your visualization, you had the support structure of some nature to do that. But let's now go into, but now you've taken control of your life. And so to prevent you, one, you took the step of having the heart operation, but then number two, you've taken control of your life in other ways to not have the migraines and to not suffer a stroke and other things. So how have you taken control, Susan? You start down that path on the understanding your triggers portion, but go ahead.
Yeah. One of the biggest things is to trust your gut. I mean, it's to trust your gut and to advocate for yourself. So when you feel something specifically, talk about it, pursue it, talk about it till someone listens to you, because you are the person that knows your body the most. And so if something is wrong, until other people know that it's wrong because it's physical, they can't advocate for you. So you need to advocate for yourself. So in that, I feel like I don't fully do anything special except for being aware of my body. And to be honest, like I'm not that great at it. Like I am very much not that great at it. Like I have water next to me, but I should have already had like 3 of these. Like I put it in a cute cup because I wanted it to be pretty for the camera. Like, I mean, I don't have a special diet. I don't have I'm aware. Yeah.
All right. So in my world, what I teach people is one of the many things is future visioning. Your true future vision, which you had, was you're getting better.
Yeah.
No matter what. You never let go of that, right? You always maintain that. So, and that's vital, and that's what people need to know too.
Yeah.
Because if you had the future vision of, well, I'm just going to be stuck in this state all the time, which I call a corrupt future vision, because it's not really what you want. It's not what you truly want.
Yeah.
So, so you maintain that true future vision all the way. And that's fantastic. That, to me, that's what carried the day, because you still have, you're not drinking enough water and you're not eating the right stuff. You still do all this stuff isn't working ideally, and yet here you are doing phenomenally well. So, the other thing that I teach people is automatic pattern interruption. So, every 2 years you have this automatic pattern, this perfect storm of things that happen. And are you just drinking that so you can impress all of us? I'm just kidding.
She's trying to interrupt the pattern. Drinking
right, exactly.
Water.
It's perfect. Yeah. So, automatic pattern interruption is really vital. And I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about that if you want at some point in the future about what that means and what you can do and how you recognize things and how you interrupt patterns and things like that. So if you're interested, you can get hold of me.
Right. Yeah. Well, and Tim, to answer what you were asking about success. So the progression of work is that I went from stroke to baby room, infant room for 3 years. And then I was pursued for sales and photography for a position. I was pursued for 6 months. And Brian was my boyfriend at the time, now my husband. And we're like, I have an itch for sales, but I don't know if I can do it. So this was a safe way to do it. They had pursued me. It would be everything that I love. So I worked there for 6 years. I was the top salesperson. I was the top, all of these things. I was training the 20-year-olds. I was all of this. I loved it. I thought I was a lifer. I was fired, wrongfully fired. So that's what got me into entrepreneurship, but outside of photography.
But before you get into that, that's the next one.
Yeah.
I want to wrap it up. Because the other thing, I think Bob was right on when you said there are things that, like you said, that you did that he can help shape and articulate a little bit. But the other thing, your part about not doing everything perfect is also a powerful statement, because when you identified all your triggers, I often say you don't have to be perfect in everything, and little things add up. So if you got enough more hydration, enough more sleep, all that combined together really changed your life. So I think that part, and like you said, you sensed yourself, you understood yourself, you analyzed yourself. I'm not sure you're giving yourself enough credit, Suzy. You identified all those triggers. That's really sensing and understanding yourself, and the advocating works as well. Now let's go, I think, where you were headed to, which is, okay, you've done this for yourself.
Yeah.
Powerful, transform your life. have a kid now, but I do want you to, you said every 2 years you have the migraine. I do want to understand tell us through, how many of these migraines have you had since age 28 now, since this portion? But then also then take us through how these lessons, you've taken this lessons and power and are now working to help people in your work.
I don't know the answer to how many. I just have to say too, since this is recorded for forever, I don't want it to seem like, oh, I got it all together and all of that. So that's why I think that saying what I don't do, because my intention is that stroke survivors or people that are going through medical difficulties, life difficulties, all of that, instead of saying like, I am getting better every day, which I am, and there are setbacks, and it's okay to have setbacks. It's okay to know that you're not doing all the things that you could do, and that perfection doesn't exist. Like it is, so thank you for pointing that out, because instead of a self-deprecating way, it's more of a like, hey, so thank you. I will give myself more credit, and want people watching to know that if you're not where you want to be, give yourself grace and keep going. No
it's
matter
the commitment,
what.
really. It's the commitment, right?
Yeah. And the perseverance in that. So I just want to say that. So thank you for that, because I do that on every podcast, is that I say that I'm not doing, because I don't want people to think like, ooh, have it all together. But so maybe I'll stop that. So your question. Oh yeah.
Sorry. I'm sorry. What medication, if you don't mind saying, are you on now? It's helping you? Is it helping you, or?
It starts with a D.
A D?
A D.
A D, yeah. Oh, the D medication.
Rapaville, maybe, or something.
Okay. What's it for?
It's for when my fingers start to get tingly.
Oh, then you take it? It's
Yeah.
Oh, you don't take it all the time. Oh, okay.
No, I take a baby aspirin. I take vitamin D. I take vitamin C. We don't really take much. I'm on what's it called? Like depression medication, antidepressant medication. So that's all the medication. It's not, there's not a lot of medication, but okay, Tim, what was your question again? I'm so sorry.
So first question was one, how many strokes have you had since age 28? So,
I don't know that answer.
That's a bit, but do you think more than 5, more than 5, more than?
I would say, I would say more than 5. Yeah. I had a huge one last June where, I knew that I could have died. I was very close to dying. I had aphasia really bad. I don't remember how long it lasted. I think it was even like 2 or 3 weeks I was out. I can't remember, but I remember we had lost my brother, and I remember our son being so pissed off at me. And that's what brought me back. Okay. I could feel that he was angry. I was like, I will not do that to you.
Right, and that's what, not to say that's okay too, but this is what I call, we oftentimes, and what we advocate and work towards with people is sometimes optimal wellness is what I call that. You may not get back to where it's perfect, but when you get back to where it's better, when it gets back to when you're enjoying life, when you get back to you recover faster like you did, and it gets back to where you're still thriving and doing 10 times better than most people that have this, and then it's optimal wellness, and it's worthwhile. So then the thing becomes now, so then the next part of that question was, so how have you taken all this and packaged it up into your method and your mode of helping other people, especially females, as you told me.
Yes.
And as I told you, yes. We all have females, and everybody, unless you're a monk in a monastery someplace, you all have females in your life, and so we all, every male should want to help that female as they would anybody else. So we're okay with you doing that too, Suzy, but so tell us about it.
Yeah, so there are a few things that I do. I'm a photographer. That is my absolute passion. I focus on business photography. So it's branding, it's capturing the essence of who you are. I do travel for that. And I do shopping sprees with women mostly, but still that can be men. It would be an amazing.
I was ready for my shopping spree, Suzy. Come on.
There we go. It would be amazing to get together like a networking group and do all branding pictures. Like that would be amazing. But so I love photography. I love being able to coach and to consult women in business. I have coached some men, but really to draw you out of your head and into your heart so that you know exactly what you are here to do and to have the confidence, because I have needed to fight through those things. I have been in sales. I love marketing. I love like just being able to partner with people, with entrepreneurs, to be able to say, okay, take who you are first, and then like the how comes after. You're able to step out in your passion. You're able to say, what lights me up inside and how can I make money at that, and how can I make the most money at that? Right. So I do have a VIP program, and the VIP program, I love this. It's when I started my business 10 years ago and I still have it. So yes, there's value in partnership. Yes, you're a very important person. Like that's what people think at first, but that's not what it is. It's we go through victories, improvements, and plans. Because you've got to start. I was told years and years ago that quantum physics says, and I'm just repeating because I'm not a researcher, but quantum physics says when you spend 17 seconds in a direction, you're going to continue to go in that direction. So that's why we start with victories, because I don't care what your day was like before this. Right now, we're going to start with what made you smile and what did you do well, because it's easy to beat ourselves up. It's easy to take away from the day and to see, because negativity is 7 times stronger than positivity. So it is easier to go the negative route. So that's where we start. We talk about improvements, and then we talk about an action step of plans. And this is the amazing thing. When I do that with dream clients, I guarantee their return on investment and their return on effort. So what I do with that, if you do not make in the time that we set up, if you do not bring in what you've invested in me, I will work with you for free until you do.
Wow.
And I have never needed, in almost 10 years, I have never needed to work with someone for free.
That's awesome. That's excellent. So how do people get in contact with you? What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, the best way right now is to go to stroke2success.com.
Is that TO or the number 2?
Both.
Okay, either one.
Very smart. Very smart.
Both. Yes. Yeah, we have both. So stroke2success.com. You'll see my story. I've made the website. That's another thing that I do is I create websites. Right now I've stepped into something called the Yes Girl. And so we need to hear more yeses to receive more yeses. And so there are all of these things that pile on our mind as entrepreneurs that, oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. So, excuse me, when it comes to marketing, strategic marketing, I'm your yes girl, that you can say, ooh, could you put together this presentation so it actually goes with your branding? It actually supports who you are rather than just putting something together. So I am doing that too. And I'm a best-selling author and an international speaker. So I would absolutely love to speak more, travel the world more again. So post 2020. So that's something that
Thank you. That's so appreciate it. So, and I did work in a couple of questions over from the Facebook crowd. I picked up on that one, but you've interested us so much that aside from that, Bob, Breck, and I have just kind of dominated your time here. Didn't even give Breck time for a promo. I guess I'd have to do that at the end here too. Even took that time away. But I did want to see to our Zoom crowd here if there's any if they have any questions for you before we kind of sign off here. Yep. So I think we're good. So, Breck, do we want to go to a promo now, or what do you think?
Sure. I can quickly tell you who the sponsor is for this episode today. It's Better Alt, committed to supporting and enhancing well-being. According to independent studies, and even you can look this up at pubmed.gov, this supplement can improve your energy level, enhance cognitive function, support healthy aging, while boosting your immune system with 85 to 87 of the 102 trace minerals your body needs just to live. It's the pure Himalayan Shilajit. I like the honey sticks because they're a little sweeter going down. But yeah, these can be found at thebetteralt.com, GNC, and other fine retailers. I have a coupon for you. If you look at it up at the TikTok shop, you can get a discount there on the TikTok shop. But we'll leave a link in the show notes. Thanks. Back to you.
Yep, so thank you. And I thank everyone for joining us here live on Zoom and on TikTok and over on Facebook. Just a fantastic discussion on with Suzy and the remarkable story. And I don't know how you. Well, like I said, you're a Midwesterner too, so you can appreciate my little Midwestern humor. So I think you probably took it okay, because I don't want you to be a stranger here. I want you to come back and maybe other parts of your story to tell. We certainly want to stay with you on your wellness journey. So we'd love to have you come back and visit us again and spend time with us. And so, and then next week, and hey, you might want to join us next week. We have our own Breck Rice feature next week. He's going to be talking about pharmacogenetic testing, very important in terms of getting that right medication that's effective. And so we'll talk to you about what it entails, what the power of it is, and how that is transforming medical care as well there.
Yeah, and always remember, wellness, it's in you.
Hey, Suzy, congratulations on all that you accomplished. It's really fantastic. I love hearing stories like yours. And, I always look for the anecdotes in life anyway, because that tells me what's possible. The anecdotes tell us what can be done, So, you're a huge success story. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for being our guest today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.